How are you? Seven marital truth no one ever told you. The last time I was here, we talked about the first one, that opposites do not attract. It is kind the bond. Now, the second marital truth no one ever told you is that patterns are predictors of the future. Earns background check is key. When I was growing up, I grew up in Africa. And one of the things that we grew up with was that when you want to get married, if you get married, your parents will go and check the kind of family the person you want to get married to is coming from. Now, I know that as we grew older, especially for those of us who became Christians, we felt that that was old school. It was no longer necessary. All you needed to do was maybe get born again or belong to the same religion, and you guys are fine, right? And that has cost people a whole lot over the years, because without parents, divorce was very rare. Of course, you can say that because they took in a lot of domestic violence and they never really talked about it. But if you look at those of us who don't take rubbish, you'd notice that divorce rates have skyrocketed. Now, why do people get into what they have not properly investigated? So boy meets girl, down the road or at work, and the next thing you notice is that they're getting married. Why do HR companies, do what they call a background check? Now, I think I read an analysis, by Amre Borges, and she said the background checks serve two main purposes when it comes to hiring. It validates the information provided by the candidate through the interview process, and two, it helps safeguard employees and the company from people who may be potentially dangerous to all the people. Now, consistently, people have brought into their world people who are very dangerous to them. People have married wife beaters. People have married people who kill them. People have married those kind of things. And the question is, didn't you notice this? Right? Because people don't really pretend, even though you have James Bonds and the actors, who really will put up a show. But if you knew that you were shopping for a life partner, then there are critical questions you need to ask, right? You will not just overlook things and say, oh, you know what, he was beating his younger sister, he slapped his younger sister for me because he was rude to me. But that's a guy communicating a tendency of his inability to handle crisis through communication and diplomacy, that the only way he knows how to handle things that don't go his way is through fight and violence. But because it was in your favor, you kept quiet about it, then you get in a marriage and it starts to beat you, and you're saying your husband is a wife beater. How does he communicate to the people in his life? How does he communicate to his parents? How does he talk to his friends? What kind of friendship does he have? Or she has. You need to pay attention to these things because people don't change. I even see people say to me, where I'm getting married to that guy, I don't like people who smoke, but he's smoking, but he promised me that when we get married, it's going to change. Excuse me, you cannot change anyone. So you need to do a background check. You need to check the patterns, because patterns are predictors of the future. Now, there are critical areas that you need to align before you get married to someone, or else you will be prone to marital crisis. So, what are the patterns you need to check? You need to check for beliefs and culture compatibility. I'm going to expatiate more on that in one of the other truths that I'm going to be sharing with you. But what are his beliefs? What is his culture? What is the culture? Is there a culture compatibility? Do you see things the same way, right? Or you are like first world, the person you get married to is like third world. Beliefs compatibility. What are his beliefs? What are his beliefs about who is superior? Do they believe in equality, or they believe in superiority? Who should cook? Who should make money? These are things, that conversations that you find among the Latinos and the Africans, right? And these are critical issues that maybe some of the Western world have maybe outgrown, or they no longer talk about it. But these are basic conversations, right? So you need to check for beliefs. That's why we say that an unbeliever is not necessarily someone that is bad. It's the English word that means someone who doesn't believe what you believe. So if you believe believe everyone needs to make money, but she believes that you are the only one that must make money, and she must eat your money, or he must eat your money and must not work, that is an unbeliever to you. That is an unbeliever to you doesn't mean they are bad. It just means that they are not right for you. They may be believer to some other people, right? So you need to check their patterns, their belief system. You need to check the culture compatibility. Some guys cannot stand women who correct them, or women who stand up to them. They want someone who can worship them. Let them marry their type, right? Then you want to check for patterns and personality alignment. What is your personality type? That will show you tendencies, right? If it's a creative convertible, you know that naturally they need an environment where they can be honest about their feelings without judgment. The moment you start to judge them, they start to pretend. If you get married to an intimidating owner, you know that's almost like a bullish in the communication. Are you ready to handle that person? If you're married to a dependable truck, you know that person is slow and steady, very given to diplomacy, but very, very slow when it comes to changes. Are you married to a systematic Ford? You know that's a perfectionist. So you need to check that. Number 3, you need to check for energy and vibration and connection. When you're with them, how do you feel? How does your energy level feel when you're with them? Do you feel the greatest version of yourself, or you feel less than who you truly are? Do they intimidate you, or do they make you insecure? You need to check that. What are your connections? Do you feel connected? Can you trust them? You don't have to overlook some of these things because they're critical to your marital wellness. And number 4, you need to check for areas of pain and healing from their trauma, because people often bring baggages of trauma to marriages. So you want to check, what are their pain points? Who has left them? Maybe the father left their mother. What did they do about it? Have they gone through therapy? Or somebody dumped them? You know, did they go through therapy? Or they lost someone? Have they gone through grief or bereavement therapy? You need to find out these things, because all these things are what people bring, because people bring who they are into marriage, then who they are begin to sabotage the marriage. You want to check all these patterns, you know. So how do they respond to crisis? You want to ask, if somebody, you know, fights you there, what's going to be your response? If they respond, I'm going to fight the person that I'm going to give it to the person, then you know that if you're going through divorce, then it's going to be a social media matter, right? You want to check how they treat the people around them. How do they talk to people? Don't overlook patterns, because patterns are predictors of a future. Don't just get into the frenzy of boy meets girl, you know, it's a Christian, I'm a Christian, it's a Muslim, I'm a Muslim, it's Buddhist, I'm Buddhist. No, you need to understand that you're about to hire the most important hiring in your life, and you cannot subject it to culture, sentiment, or errors. Well, I hope this has helped you. When we come next time, we will look at the third marital truth no one ever told you. I'll see you. Bye-bye.